Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. Today we are playing a game of Publishing Family Feud. We've put the top 10 answers on the board, and the question is, why is my query not working? So,
Yep.
we've got 10 answers. The first one is word count.
By the way, we're going bottom up.
Right. There's no rhyme or reason as to how we put these in order.
No, we
Um,
just saved the most common one.
for last.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, actually, I would argue that because for me, I feel like the most common lately is word count. Like the word count
Well,
being.
there's number one right there.
Yeah,
Word
that's
count.
number one answer. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Um, the word count lately has been the thing that is leading me to reject probably most frequently, and in both directions. There are times where I get books that are 40,000
Yeah.
words, and times that I'm getting books like in the 200,000s. And respectfully, I love books just as much as the next guy. I'm not reading 200,000 words, and it's
No.
not easy for us, not possible, I would venture for us to sell those, especially for debuts.
And I'm going to say right now, stay out of the comments with the long list of books that are over 200,000 words and how they work. And don't tell me that the classic that was written 100 years ago was only 40,000 words. We have a market today and we have authors today, and it's different than it was then. Also, it's
Yes.
far different. The first Harry Potter is far shorter than the last Harry Potter. You can write the last Harry Potter at 500,000 words because people are going to buy it no matter what.
Yeah, there are genre conventions. There is, we have to consider what a publisher's willing to pay for because it costs money to print. We have to consider, what that cost is going to, do to the profit of the book. It's not easy to do it, especially if it's a debut. There's got to be a really strong reason, and also it's probably not going to be that extreme, right? Like you might get 120, you might get 130. I don't know about anything longer than that. So,
I'm going to be honest. I've been doing this for a couple years. There's a problem with the book. If you are so far outside the word count, it's very clearly a problem with the book. If you are writing a 200,000 word book, you can't just take two stories and split it into two books. It just then it shouldn't have been done. But also, you are you need to edit. You just need to edit. You need to make it a stronger book. If it's only 40,000 words, you don't have enough there for a book.
and also times two, I don't want to do the work all the time to completely overhaul that book. So unless it's closer to, you know what I'm saying? Like I will do revisions with my clients, right? I will do revisions and offer on a book that I think needs revisions. But if the word count is so far out, it to me already signals like you're saying something's wrong. And it's a big reason. Like adding 40,000 words is not simple. Cutting 40,000 words is not simple. That's
No.
work that authors will need to do with their CPs or their
Yeah.
friends or whatever it might be. Yeah, so for me, word count is just the number one right now. There's too much pushing in each side. Like,
Yeah.
I can give like a 10, 15,000 buffer on either
Yeah.
side. Beyond that, like my hackles are up. I have a full client list. I'm concerned. So,
Yeah.
number
Yeah.
one for
No, it's
me.
it's a red flag that the book isn't ready.
Yeah, and we've done videos on word count, so feel free to check those out.
Yep.
Um, number two, number two answer on the board is we just have something similar on our list, which,
Yeah.
happens and happens frequently, right? Like I've had people comp my client books, and I'm like, yeah, that's a little too close though. Like we are building our own list and helping authors build their careers too. Having things that directly compete so closely is
Yeah.
not always super wise. Or we've tried to submit something similar and we just didn't have luck with it, or we tried to
Right.
submit a few something similar. So we're coming at this portion of the query reading with our experience and our, what has been successful for us. So
Yeah. It doesn't mean that the book can't sell with another agent. It's just that, and an example of too close isn't, let's say, I have a rom-com on my list and you sent me a rom-com. That's not too close.
right.
What's too close is I have a hockey rom-com and you sent me a hockey rom-com, and maybe I've already sold it, but I can't have two on my list. Or maybe I went out and tried to sell it and every publisher was like, we've already got a hockey rom-com, we can't take on another. So it isn't just me, it's also my knowledge of the market a little bit where that particular thing happens.
Yep. Number three, speaking of market, is that the market shifts, which happens and happens a lot. And the market, I always say, is a living, breathing thing. It is not controlled by any one external force. And, sometimes to use the rom-com example, say I have rom-coms on my list, and then everyone's like, we've got rom-coms for the next year. It can be hard to then break through the noise and find a home for a book. And that can inform an agent's what they're offering on and what they're
Yeah,
interested in taking on. So,
it does because our job is, to know the market. A huge part of our job is not our entire job, but a huge part of our job is to sell books. And if the market has shifted, Um, which is why we always say don't chase the market. Don't say, I know what's publishing today and hot, so I'm going to write that next thing because by the time the book has finished, the market may have shifted. I pass on a lot of books that 10 years ago I probably would have jumped all over. And sometimes, honestly, it makes me really sad because I think, God, my list 10 years ago, I would have snapped these things up, but I can't sell them today. Just cannot sell them.
yeah, and it's something that we're experiencing in the picture book market too, right? Like the picture book market was in a boom 3, 4 years ago, and
Yeah.
right now it's not necessarily, being things are not being snapped up the way they were. So, am I as free to request and offer on a picture book? Absolutely
Yeah.
not. And that's not an author's fault, and that's not necessarily something an author could have seen coming, but it
Mm-mm.
is a reality nonetheless. So.
Yeah, I'm seeing it in cozy mysteries.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And
Like
the
it's just,
definition of cozies is changing.
yes.
Yeah.
So seeing a cozy that I would have snapped up 10 years ago is not something I can do with anything with these days,
Right.
sadly.
Yeah. Number four, your query letter is all about the themes and not
Uh,
about the book.
I I really
This one
I don't
gets
know
you.
why this is a pet peeve for me, but it just drives me nuts.
So I like to say, if you are treating your query like you are writing a review for the New York Times, you're not writing a query.
Ah!
The New York Times is all about what it means to be intrinsically human and blah, 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 whatever. It's a tour de force and yada, yada. We need to
That
know
is, oh
what
my God.
happens. So,
Yeah, I don't go to the bookstore and buy any book because it is, a discussion of today's feminist movement and how it changes one woman's life to, I don't even know what that book is about. I buy a book because I want a great story. Those themes are going to come through in the book. That's the way it should be.
and I would argue that those themes would also come through in the pitch. They don't like
Yes.
you telling me what happens, the themes will also come through in the pitch.
That is so true. And I would challenge you, anybody who wants to argue with us on this, writing about the themes, I would challenge you to go to the bookstore and find me a book that doesn't describe the characters or a plot, but instead fully just goes into the themes and what I will learn from this piece of fiction.
Yeah, and that could be a piece of it though. Like, you might see plenty of blurbs where the first two sentences, a powerful debut novel about whatever, right? But
Race and feminism, let's say.
right, but it still needs to have the meat and potatoes.
But typically that's not even in the blurb. Sometimes it is, but typically that's a quote that somebody
Yeah,
will give it. The blurb is what the blurb on the book is what tells me what the story is and what the characters are and what's happening.
yeah. So don't forget that because that's what's gonna get us, and
Yeah.
that's what we're selling, really, at the end of
Yeah.
the day. Number five, it's all instead of all themes, it's all synopsis, like a wall of text. This is what happens
Yes.
from the first page all the way down to the last page, and we get these a lot.
Yeah, there's a difference. There is a difference between pitching your book in a query letter and writing a synopsis. They are two different beasts.
So picture it this way: you just read your new favorite book, or you're watching this really great show, or you went to see the newest movie in the theater. You are not going to call your friend and say, okay, so the minute the movie starts, this is exactly what happened, and then walk them through 2 hours. You want them to go see it for themselves. You kind of want to share what that experience is more than you want to share everything about it. You
Yeah.
save that for the discussion afterwards. So that's what a query letter is. It's like, okay, get this.
Right.
This happened, and then this is supposed to happen, and now you should go read it. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, and I would also ask you at what point you tune out. Because there are those people who will spend an hour, synopsizing a 2-hour movie when you ask what the movie was about.
Yeah.
You tune out pretty fast. And I think you need to write your query with that in mind. Nobody wants 5 paragraphs about your book. We're
No.
going to tune out. Your friends are going to tune out. Your family's going to tune out. So how do you describe your book in a way that captures their attention and makes people want to read it? That's your
Yeah.
goal.
Imagine you're talking to a kid. Every kid has their nose in their phone and TikTok and whatever. What are you saying that's going to get them to want to pick up a book? We're
Oh
in an
God.
attention economy. You are trying to write a pitch that is like, holy crap, I need to read that now.
Hmm.
So, cut the synopsis down from 2 pages to like 3 paragraphs.
Yep.
Number 6 is there's no blurb at all, which
I've been getting a lot of these. I've been
really,
getting a lot of people who are like, I've written this great book. Here are the themes. It's all the things, James. Here are the themes. I hope you want to read it. I'm like, well, you didn't tell me anything about it, so no, I don't want to read it. I do offer that you can attach sample material in Query Manager with your query, but that doesn't mean I'm going to read it. Your query is what's going to trigger whether or not I read that sample material. So I'm not going to go read it because you didn't write a query. You still have to write a query.
yeah, and I mean, I want to read a good book. When I open my queries up, I want to read your pitches. That's why I'm opening them. If I didn't want to, I'd be closed, right? And I
Yeah.
think that is fairly the same for most agents. But I can't evaluate a book the same way you wouldn't go to a bookstore and, read the blurb and there's nothing there. I've seen a couple books like that. I'm like, well, what the hell is this book
I
about?
won't read. I won't
I
buy.
won't
Certainly
buy
not going
it.
to spend $25 on it.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to remember, again, just kind of like we've been talking for the past few points, you are trying to convince someone to request your book. So
Yeah.
make it interesting. Put the blurb there, give me all of the details, and then like I always say, bring me right up to the edge of the cliff, but don't push me. Just like I want to look over. So that's that. Number 7, this is gonna be Jessica's favorite. There's just like a certain vibe, a certain attitude, a certain phrasing that doesn't work, right?
Listen,
Like we get this a lot. The offensive comments about genre, this is the best book ever, all these other books suck. There's
let's just be clear. We're not going to work with assholes. I
right,
don't
well, I don't
want
want
to
to say
work with
assholes, but
assholes.
now since you said it, I'm gonna feel
I
free to
said
say
it. Life is
assholes.
short. I apologize for anybody who doesn't want sweary words, but there it is. There it is. I'm not going to work with the misogynist. I'm not going to work with the racist. I'm not going to be talked down to. I'm not going to have the genre I represent dissed.
And you would be surprised. It's not uncommon.
Yeah, I love it when somebody comes in and says, there hasn't been a good mystery written in the past 15 years. So I went ahead and wrote my own. Okay, so now what you've done is dissed an entire genre that you want to be a part of. You have dissed me, who has sold those books into the market. So I have not represented a decent mystery. And every client I have is terrible at their job. So why again would I want to work with you?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Moving on. Number 8, not understanding an agent's job or the industry, which again, if none of our viewers are doing this, because our
Mm-mm.
viewers know all about,
Smartest group around.
they all know about the industry, they know what agents do, and they're damn good at publishing. But we get enough queries that are like, I'm looking for someone to edit my book, or I'm looking for you to publish my book. And that's not what agents do. Um,
I know my book's not quite ready, but
right.
now it's time for me to get an agent who can help.
Yeah, so, don't do that. Understand what agents
Don't
do.
do that.
Watch our videos. Shameless
Yeah.
self-plug. Number 9
Make sure your
is
friends are watching our videos because they're probably the ones who need it if they aren't already watching our
right,
videos.
right, right. The problem with my shameless self-plug is I'm plugging it to the people who already watch. So anyway, number 9 is simply the wrong genre, which happens. And sometimes I'm like, go for it, give it a try. You never know. But I'm not representing romance, to send me a romance, like a straight up contemporary romance, you're just not gonna unfortunately get a request from me. You would be better off saving your time and querying someone else.
I feel like
But
it's a waste of your own time. I've been
it
getting a
is.
rash of YA, and people are categorizing it in my query manager as everything from contemporary to women's fiction.
Yeah.
And then clearly stating in the query that it's YA. I'm going to see the YA and it's just an immediate rejection because I'm not doing YA.
Yeah, I'm all for bending the rules, but know when you're not serving yourself, I think is really it.
Yeah,
If someone says they're looking for a genre and you've got a genre mashup, different story. If someone says they're not looking for picture books and you send them a picture book, different market. I'm not going to be the best agent.
right.
And the number 10 answer on the board, Steve, is it's just not that exciting. It's not different to us. We don't know that we can sell it. It's not, there's no like that spark didn't from
And
the
there's
query to my
nothing
brain.
you did wrong.
No,
It's just that I'm at the bookstore and I have 500 books in front of me,
that's it.
and they are all probably great books, but I only can take a couple that month, maybe two.
Yeah. That's
So,
really it. I think when we give this list too, there's always a disclaimer to be made. Like, not every one of these is going to apply to you.
mhm.
And I would say, I would hope, again, if you're our viewer, none of these apply to you.
None of them. Just
But
the last one, probably.
right, it's just the last one. And at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to like it is a very subjective business, and it's awful to try and navigate that. It's not easy to do. It's frustrating every time you get a pass or a rejection, and we totally hear and understand that. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the only thing you can do is like know how to make your query strong and make yourself stand out, and then just keep going, because
Yep.
all of these things are at play, not only for you, these things are at play for us when we're submitting client books. These things are at play for every agent trying to make their own success too. So we feel it and understand it. The only thing we can suggest is to just keep working on it and keep developing it and not do numbers 1 through 9. Number 10, we can't control.
There we are.
Yeah. So thanks for watching Family Feud. We hope this was
I loved it.
helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you back here next time.
Bye.